Week 3 is here among us, and in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 must-start players that you have to have in your starting lineups to be successful. Now, these 5 guys aren't just guys that are easy plug-and-plays. These are usually guys that you're going to be on the fence on, but hopefully after this video, you'll have clear insights on why this should be in your lineups. Now, for starters, let's go ahead and kick it off with Matthew Golden from the Green Bay Packers. I know I've been a truther on this guy since the offseason, but I believe that week 3 is going to be his week, and here is why. He's going up against the Cleveland Browns, and this breakout that we've been looking for hasn't gone as anticipated. And week 3, he's going to be facing the Cleveland Browns, who are actually a bottom half defense. They are actually in the bottom half of the league with most points allowed to opposing wide receivers. Now, they are coming off a game where the Ravens faced them, and Zay Flowers actually had a huge game where he had 7 receptions, 11 targets, and 75 yards. And I understand if we go over Matthew Golden's stats over the last couple weeks, it hasn't been all that great. He's only had 4 targets through 2 games. And week 2, we saw 2 big opportunities that Jordan Love was not able to connect with that would have changed this entire narrative. But with the unfortunate injury that Jaden Reed is going to be out for the season after the shoulder injury, then of course the foot surgery, I believe that Matthew Golden has the skill set and has the ability to take over this wide receiver room. And despite the crowded wide receiver room with Romeo Doubs and Dontayvion Wicks, I still think that Matthew Golden has the opportunity to really take over with the skill set that he has, as well as the draft capital. When we look at the snap counts, here's why I get really optimistic, because for the second straight week, Golden was second among all wide receivers in Green Bay with a snap percentage that saw him first have 48% in week 1, and then he saw an uptick of 59% in week 2, and I only anticipate that to increase as the season goes on. So if you have Matthew Golden, start him with confidence, because the boom season begins in week 3 versus Cleveland. The next player that we are going to be covering is going to be Xavier Worthy going up against the New York Giants. Now, who would have thought that the New York Giants and the Chiefs through 2 weeks would be going into a week 3 matchup where they are looking for their first win of the season? Well, of course, we're a little bit shocked that the Kansas City Chiefs are in there, but the point is, Kansas City is desperate to get on the winning side of things after a slow start, and I know that the wide receiver room has been complete shambles. I mean, we haven't seen anyone truly stand out. We saw the Marquise Hollywood Brown week 1 performance where he was hyper-targeted, but didn't really seem too efficient. However, I think that week 3, if Xavier Worthy, who is currently questionable with the shoulder injury for this matchup, plays, he is a must start, because I believe that the opportunity versus the Giants opens up a great chance for him to have a boom week. Now, if we look closely, we also see that Kansas City is coming off a tough matchup versus Philadelphia, who is a very tough secondary on opposing wide receivers. And I know that with Hollywood Brown, he led the way in week 1, like I said earlier, but he only had 30 yards in the week 2 matchup. And with the Giants being a bottom 5 team with most points allowed to wide receivers, is if Xavier Worthy is ready to go in this game, because it is a Sunday night matchup, I believe that he will be a boom play because of the upside that he's able to provide for this offense. And if for whatever reason he is not available, I do think that Thornton would be a wonderful alternative. Even in the tough matchup versus Philadelphia, he saw 2 receptions on 5 targets for 59 yards and 1 touchdown. Of course, he had that 49 receiving touchdown at the end of the game there that really boomed his week. But I believe that Xavier Worthy, if he is good to go, if all signs point that he is playing, he will be a must start for me in all lineups, because of the desperate need that Kansas City has to get not only on the winning board, but to also face a good team that is going to be likely giving up a lot of points to opposing wide receivers. Let's go ahead and pivot to a tight end, and I'm going to be talking about Jawan Johnson. I have been a big fan of how they've been utilizing him early in the season. I know that with Spencer Rattler now looking for his first win as a career starter, he's been really targeting Jawan Johnson. Now, Jawan Johnson is coming off a strong week where he saw 5 receptions on 9 targets, 49 yards, and 1 touchdown. And in week 1, he had that 8 reception, 11 target, 76-yard performance. And he has been the highest targeted tight end through 2 weeks with 20 targets. And he's also second among all tight ends in first read target share, as well as second in red zone targets. And with the matchup that they have going up against the Seattle Seahawks, they are coming off a game where they just gave up 7 receptions, 58 yards to Steelers tight ends, and they also allow the most points per game to opposing tight ends. So the matchup is favorable, and with Seattle also actually in line to be the favorite, it's going to put a positive game script where you are going to see New Orleans having to throw the ball a ton, and naturally Jawan Johnson will be the true beneficiary of that, which should make you a very optimistic fantasy manager if you are looking to start Jawan Johnson in week 3. We have 2 more players to go over, but before we do so, I am so close to 1,000 subscribers, and that cannot be done without the support of all you. So if you are getting value, do me a huge solid. Hit the like button as well as the subscribe button. Let's go over these last 2 players. And this next player is going to be Isaiah Pacheco, Kansas City Chiefs running back, going up against the New York Giants. Now, we spoke about how the passing game has really been non-existent. We can say the same for this offense in general because the running game with Isaiah Pacheco has not gone as planned. But I think there's some grace to be had here, and with that, a good buy low opportunity if you are looking to make a move with a fantasy team that is a little bit shallow at the running back position. And here is why. For starters, we got to remember that he played the Chargers in week 1, and through 2 weeks the Chargers have been a top 2 defense with opposing running backs, and they also saw the Philadelphia Eagles in week 2. I know that the Philadelphia Eagles give up a good amount of points in week 1 to opposing running backs, but remember, we saw Jalen Carter out for that game. In week 2, when they came back, if you look at the screenshot here, you can see a huge impact of what Jalen Carter was able to do. We saw a huge difference between what this Philadelphia Eagles defense looks like with Jalen Carter and him without it, because the running game versus Kansas City was basically locked in. And despite what has seemed to be a very unproductive start to the season, Pacheco is still taking over the snap counts in this running back room. We see here in week 2, he had 58% of the snaps, going up against Kareem Hunt's 40%. And through 2 weeks, he has led the way for Kansas City in this category. And the matchup versus the New York Giants is a very juicy one. You're seeing now for 2 straight weeks, the Giants have given up some pretty big performances to opposing running backs. In week 1, you see Ja'Cory Merritt. He had 82 yards on 1 touchdown, and you're also seeing Javonte Williams last week coming off a 97-yard performance with 1 touchdown. And with that has led to the Giants actually allowing the 3rd most points to opposing running backs. So Pacheco, I think, not only is a must start, but is a potential buy low candidate that you can leverage for a position on your fantasy rosters to turn things around if you are shallow there at that position. The last player that we're going to be going over is going to be Jaylen Warren, running back out of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're going up against the New England Patriots. And we got to first start off by saying the Caleb Johnson hype is officially dead, at least for the time being, because for 2 weeks, the snap count has been non-existent. In week 1, we saw 4% snap count for Caleb Johnson. We saw 3% in week 2. And even though Kenneth Gainwell led the Pittsburgh Steelers in snaps in week 1, we see that took a backseat in week 2 with Jaylen Warren seeing 58% of the snaps versus Gainwell's 42 in week 2. But even though this running back room has been quite inefficient, we're seeing that Jaylen Warren is coming off now 2 straight games where he has been seeing not only the usage, but he's been also getting into the end zone. So in week 1, in week 2, he saw 14 carries for 48 yards, also had 4 receptions on 4 targets for 86 yards. And through 2 weeks, he has been the running back 1 in all of the NFL in receiving EPX. He's also been 1st in yards per reception, 4th in receiving yards, as well as 10th in yards created. Now, this game has the makings where you may see Aaron Rodgers needing to utilize Jaylen Warren in the passing game, and with that, I think would make him a favorable must start at the running back position in week 3. Hey, you made it to the very end of the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, and that cannot be done without your support. So do me a huge solid. If you got value, hit the like button as well as the subscribe button. Best of luck to you in week 3, and we'll see you guys next week. But in the meantime, take care. God bless. Peace.